what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to and welcome to Prime Time News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at the headlines for tonight.
Police obstructs People's March against suppression. Protesting will impede tourism and export-related activities while burdening the public, says police. Two protesters marching from Ambepussa to Golface turned back. Sri Lanka Navy's latest warship reaches Colombo. SLPP celebrates 6th anniversary. Namal reveals future plans under leadership of Mahinda. Rishad Badiuddin acquitted from Easter attacks case.
First up in news here at home. This evening, Sri Lanka police took measures to prevent a protest march from proceeding to the Fort railway station. The march against state suppression commenced from Maradana and was stopped by police officers close to the Maradana railway station.
Sri Lanka police had informed earlier in the day that as per a letter by the ASP in charge of Colombo Central Area 2, permission will not be granted for the protest march and had called in a large number of its personnel for security in Maradana and surrounding areas. Sri Lanka police then took measures to prevent the protesters from marching to Fort Colombo, resulting in heated exchanges. A protest march by multiple groups including political parties, mass organizations and trade unions commenced from opposite the Elphinstone Theatre in Maradana at around 3 p.m. today. The Samagi Jana Balavegya, led by the opposition leader, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, led by its General Secretary Dayasiri Jayasekara, the Frontline Socialist Party, the 43rd Brigade, led by Patali Champika Ranawaka, the Freedom People's Congress, among 20 political parties, and over 150 trade unions and mass organizations joined the protest.
We will come together against the state suppression of the people by Ranil Wickremesinghe's government. The police and some others who fail to understand this are making various interpretations. If you followed my press conferences, I mentioned several months back that if the fall of Ranil will begin in October or November, this is the beginning.
Those who try to ruin democracy and assault the non-violent struggle continue to roam free. We oppose the ad hoc arrests of the youth. The PTA must be repealed. The suppression must stop. All the political parties here are making that request in unison.
The law must be implemented against those who bankrupted the country as well as the officials and the racketeers connected to them. We oppose the suppression of those who voice against such acts.
The protest march was blocked by the Sri Lanka police from opposite the Maradana railway station. However, some protesters proposed that the march must proceed to fort.
Our plan was to proceed from Elphinstone Theatre to Fort. However, we will abide by the law and stop here. This is a small step in our journey to change the government. We will continue our demand for the release of Venerable Siridhamma Thera, Vasantha Mudalige and the other youth. We are not ready to clash with the security forces. However, we need to confront the government that does not represent the people. That will be a civilized struggle. We will continue it in a democratic manner.
As the Sri Lanka police did not allow the protesters to move ahead, the group held a meeting and dispersed. The PTA is being used continuously. Ministers claim the economy will collapse when we protest. There is no economy in the country to collapse. We will not allow them to remain in power. We will return with our struggle stronger than before.
අපි මේ අරගලයත් එක්ක ඒක නිසා සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා දැන් තව පිරිසක් අර ඉන්නවා. අපි කියනවා ඒ අයට අපි අරගල කරන්නේ රටේ ජනතාවගේ අයිතිවාසිකම් දිනා ගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් නිසා උඹලා කියන විදියට ප්‍රචණ්ඩ ක්‍රියා කරන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් ත්‍රස්තවාදී ක්‍රියා කරන්න අපි මෙතනට ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. කියනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසියට පොලිස් ආඥා පනතට වඩා රටේ විවස්ථාව ලොකුයි මහත්තයෝ. රටේ විවස්ථාව ලොකුයි. තව ටික දවසයි. ඒ නිසා අපි කියනවා දැන් ඇතුලේ තියෙන බෙදීම පුපුරලා යනකම් පොලිසියත් සත්‍ය දාවි. හැබැයි කවදා හරි සාධාරණය යුක්තිය මේ රටේ ජය ගන්නවා.
අපි දැක්ක මේ උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන්න එපා කියලා.
Responsible trade bodies issued statements calling the people not to support the protests. This struggle came about with the people. We are against the suppression. The Federation of University Teachers Association will continue to mark its presence against the attempts to suppress the rights of the people. We urge the government to stop the suppression.
මේ අයිතිවාසිකම් නැති කරන ක්‍රමය නවත්තන්න කියලා මේ පාලන ක්‍රමය ඇතුළේ ප්‍රකාශනිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා. රටේ ආර්ථික
Statements were issued claiming that protests would impact the economy. Where was the Chamber of Commerce when the economy was destroyed? Where were they when the bond scam took place? When the sugar tax scam took place, where were they? They only issued statements when the people decide to protest. The people want to revive the economy and not destroy the economy. How does the Chamber of Commerce plan to revive the economy without driving out the economic hitmen?
ආර්ථික ඝාතකයන් එලවන්න නැතුව ආර්ථිකය ගොඩනගන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා Chamber of Commerce කියන්න කියන පණිවිඩය තමයි අපි මෙතන දෙන්නේ.
This morning, Sri Lanka police issued a letter denying permission for the protest to enter Fort Colombo.
Sri Lanka police issued a letter informing the various protest groups, including students, trade and political bodies, who plan to protest in Colombo on Wednesday, stating that permission will not be granted to protest opposite the Fort Railway Station or in close proximity. The letter bears the signature of Colombo Central Division 1 Police Superintendent Kaen Dilruk, and police officers visited the offices and residences of the protest groups early on Wednesday to hand over the letter. The letter goes on to state that during the period of the planned protest, roads in Colombo may be blocked and therefore it may pose obstructions to the public and private office staff who are heading home after work and the wholesale trading in Fort and Peta. It added that traffic congestion caused by the protest would also delay the shipping of freight containers expected to reach Colombo from Biyagama, Vatupitiwala and Kand economic zones, and thus impacting the country's economy as well. The letter from the police superintendent also added that the protest would lead to traffic congestion affecting the movement of tourists as well. It added that in order to use a gramophone, loudspeaker, megaphone, amplifier or any other device to generate sound, permission needs to be obtained from the Superintendent of Police under Section 80 of the Police Ordinance, and such permission has not been obtained. It further notes that if there is any traffic congestion or obstruction, necessary measures will have to be taken as per the Police Ordinance and other laws to remove such inconveniences caused to the public.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka reiterates that the police must not use the provisions of the police ordinance to violate the fundamental rights declared and recognized by the Constitution of Sri Lanka. It warns the police that the Constitution of Sri Lanka is in fact the supreme law of the country, adding that violating fundamental rights would result in serious consequences. The HRCSL also reminds the police to pay attention to the recommendations made by the Commission to the Public Security Minister on the 28th of September.
A walk by two Aragale activists that was to reach Golface Green today was blocked by security forces from Baladaksha Mawatha in Colombo. We come here with love. We do not have any stones with us. You had the baton and gun with you as if you are ready to attack terrorists. We walked from Ambepussa. There is no court order against us. The ASP told us to report to Golface. Thereafter, Supu Nirmal, a representative for the President's secretary, visited the site and met with the protesters. Hand over your demands to me. I will direct them to the President. Thereafter, we can proceed with whatever legal action is required. Prior to reaching Baladaksha Mawata, the group tried to reach Goldface Green via the Lotus roundabout. However, Sri Lanka police did not allow them to proceed. The protesting duo launched their march on Monday 31st from Ambepussa, demanding the immediate release of the student activists who are detained under the PTA. They launched their walk from Kalaniya today and were supported by Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca. We must appreciate their commitment towards the people. I will always bless them. No matter issues arises, we will stand by them. We are ready to support them in the future. There will be an impact on the tourism industry if the suppression continues and if the world believes that this is a suppressive government. In any battle or struggle, there will be breaks and setbacks. This is one struggle. There is no second struggle, and there need not be any new leadership for a second struggle. Some assume the struggle is over because of these setbacks. The people still know the leaders ruined this country. Until they are removed, the people's struggle will not end. You cannot suppress the people using tear gas. If one assumes that, they have to be insane.
Several monks, including Venerable Kahandawali Pota Dhamma Sujata Thero, protested at Goldface Green on Wednesday.
Although the national flag is raised here, the people cannot live like lions. Over the decades, various politicians have made false promises and deceived the people. These politicians have no interest to solve the issues.
Amnesty International has expressed concern over Sri Lanka's police denying permission for today's protest.
Amnesty International notes that it is concerned over Sri Lanka's police denying permission for the protest by trade unions, students and political parties. It tweeted that protesters must not be required to obtain permission from authorities to exercise basic human rights such as the right to peaceful assembly. Amnesty International said that the reasons for denying permission for the protest quoted by the police do not amount to legitimate restrictions against peaceful assembly as provided by international law. Amnesty International South Asia said that urban spaces are not only an area for circulation but also spaces for participation. It added that nevertheless, disproportionate restrictions to protest jeopardizes the right to freedom of expression.
Journalist Taridu Jayawardena had filed a private complaint against ASP Nalin Dilruk and SSP Roshan Dias for alleged obstruction caused during a protest on the 10th of October 2022 in Colombo. The Attorney General on Tuesday had filed an ex parte motion to call for the matter, and today counsel appearing for the complainant expressed their objections over this move. Appearing for the complainant, President's counsel Salia Piris told the court that the Attorney General is not a person with special privileges. The President's counsel pointed out that the Attorney General was not a party to the private plaint filed against two police officers and noted that summoning the case via an ex parte motion to obtain orders sets a negative precedent. He added that if the Attorney General wanted to call for the case via a motion, the Attorney General must inform the complainant or his counsel. President's counsel Salia Piris stressed that senior state counsel Saminda Vikrama appearing for the Attorney General had concealed the fact that he did not inform the complainant or the counsel from the magistrate and presented facts over the matter. He informed the court that he was only made aware that the case was called up via a motion yesterday following media reports on the matter, and that the counsel for the state had told the court that the complainant had made false submissions to court. President's counsel Salia Piris stressed that the complainant or the counsel have never produced any false facts to the country and had never misled the court. He pointed out that the submissions made by the Attorney General's department were published in the media, and through the Attorney General had tried to relate Article 88 of the Police Ordinance and Article 97 of the Code of Criminal Procedure to the case, and that these two articles have zero relevance to the matter. President's counsel Salia Piris requested the court to never allow for a case to be called up in the absence of the complainant.
We have more news in store for you, but first a quick commercial break. Stay tuned.
News First, main sponsor. 25% for 2 months, 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
Anka ege arakshita itigini petti. Surya gini petti.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD. 25% for 2 months, 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD. The symbol of stability.
Ivan satutin inne wiring karala. Wiring kirwe Eslon Polycon yodala.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking.
Lovatama Elia denna dilena Surya. Amataka vinnema nati namage Surya. Mohotin dalvena gini kura Surya. Kavadat namagat gini petti Surya. Kavadat namagat gini petti Surya. Kavadat kotanat samage vishwase dinagat. Anka ege arakshita iti gini petti. Surya gini petti.
Ivan satutin inne wiring karala. Wiring kirwe Eslon Polycon yodala.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking.
Welcome back. Day 1 of the Colombo International Maritime and Logistics Conference 2022 was held in Colombo yesterday.
Topics such as maritime space Sri Lanka, maritime transport beyond the ocean, as well as bunkering and the new fuel era were discussed during the sessions.
Today, I think the ball is in your court under this severe economic stress to transform this country. And this is one area the Honorable President has identified, and we need to move fast. Even today, the Ports Authority, Honorable Minister, you know, we have not had enough capacity on time, so we are suffering because of that. Just a location won't bring all the ships here and the services here. We need foreign investment, we need new technology, we need new investment, we need new industry.
The event was also attended by Ali Sabri, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Nima Siripala de Silva, Minister of Ports and Shipping, Karu Jayasuriya, former Speaker of Parliament, and other participants.
It is time that we go beyond this strategic location talk. No, we have been talking about the strategic location for too long, and everybody knows about it. I think there is nothing more to dwell on that. Location probably one of the very critical important thing. But beyond that, there are a lot of other things to be done. That is, how do you promote yourself? What are the laws in place? How do you invite the people? But the problem that we don't know is a team and a mechanism which blend together with the government officials and the private sector to implement it. And that is what is lacking. Government should take their hands off of doing business. Gone are the days that government doing business. Government should be a facilitator, a regulator, a provider of logistics, and allow the private sector to compete. That's how all the countries have developed. The more you hold on to this, the more difficult for you to get these transformations done. But in our country, minister changes, elections comes, you need to give jobs, and they pack the government public service from 600,000 in 1994 to 1.5 million. 90% of our tax revenue goes for pensions, salaries, and samurdhi. So how to run a country. This is the time we must work even harder to get our country out of this.
Sri Lanka has not used its fullest potential, although we have great location in the Indian Ocean. We are located next to the massive emerging market of India and adjacent to the east-west shipping lane. So it is in our hands to transform the location with global giants in the industry. At a time when our economy is at crossroads with multiple challenges, can we be giving it selective choices for global giants, as we call ourselves a free economy, and put conditions on our terms as entry barriers? We need to be business-friendly and investor-friendly than ever before under the current circumstances.
How a small country like ours being dictated by the international community. So we bow to them, we respect them, but now we are transforming ourselves. Compete with Dubai, with India, Singapore. We are moving forward with a lot of difficulties. Foreign investors are eyeing for that. Everybody wanted Eastern Terminal. But the public pressure was that the government has to keep it. And now I am trying my best to find investment for that. So every penny, every dollar I get, I put it into a separate account in order to have the industrial peace within the port. When Madam Bandaranaike was ruling this country, we had the shipping corporation, we had 17 ships. Now I think we have only 2 ships. Still we don't have a port community system. ADB is helping us. They have just concluded their report on how to establish this system.
Newsfirst is the official media partner of the event.
The latest addition to the Sri Lanka Navy fleet, the P627, reached Colombo today.
Sri Lanka Navy's latest warship, the P627, reached Colombo earlier today, completing a 2-month-long home journey from the port of Seattle across the Pacific and Indian Oceans. P627, the second Hamilton-class high-endurance cutter, received by the SLN, measures 115 meters in length and is capable of reaching the maximum speed of 29 knots with 14,000 nautical miles of endurance at cruising speed. Further, she has been designed for 187 crew members and is equipped with modern weapons and machinery that suit Sri Lanka Navy's operational requirements. P627 is the third vessel provided by the United States Coast Guard to Sri Lanka. State Defence Minister Pramita Bandara Tennukon, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung, Defence Secretary Retired General Kamal Gunaratne, Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva were among those present. Upon the arrival at the port of Colombo, the commanding officer designate of P627, Captain Lanka Dissanayake, reported to the commander of the Navy in compliance with naval tradition. During her stint with the US Coast Guard, the ship has rendered exceptional service by curbing illegal fishing, illegal immigration and the seizure of a large number of narcotics in US waters. Upon taking over the ship, the initial crew of 130 naval personnel under the supervision of the commanding officer of P627 underwent training and engaged in acquisition formalities, maintenance, scheduled repairs and installations to suit the operational needs of the Sri Lanka Navy for around 8 months. The journey of 10,722 nautical miles, approximately 19,857 kilometers, is recorded as the longest ever sea voyage a naval vessel has ever sailed in Sri Lanka Navy history. During her long sea passage from Seattle to Colombo, the ship made port calls at Honolulu in Hawaii, Apra in Guam, United States, Manila in the Philippines and Changi Naval Harbour in Singapore for replenishment and services. P627 will be added for service after she is given a new name by the Sri Lanka Navy.
Here are some of the remarks expressed by parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva during a media briefing convened by the Centre for Economics on the Samagi Janabalavekaya.
The IPS has presented a document as Sri Lanka's State of Economy 2022. This is an analysis on what happened to our economy in the country. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has downgraded our poverty index from 3 million to 9.6 million. The same group is now saying that they will implement a short and a long-term program under a new president. They are now planning a resurgence. In this document, it says that the previous policy decisions to increase macroeconomic shocks were made instead of responding to it. And they have shown some examples as well. They have said that it will take years for us to realize our policy mistakes. They say that these decisions have caused a grave harm to the country. It says that you cannot value the damage this caused to our reputation as a country. If we are planning to present this year's budget to respond to the poverty index in the country, those decisions will not change the situation we are in right now. We actually thought that this amount is around 3.2%, but our poverty index is actually around 45%. We cannot take decisions thinking that our index is around 3.2%. And if we are still investing on development projects which are meaningless, what will be our response to this pressure? They are giving out around 10,000 rupees for 60,000 families. This number is not 60,000 anymore. It has increased to 9.6 million.
යම්කිසි ප්‍රමාණයක් මාස 4කට 10,000ක් කොහෙද දෙනවලු 60,000 නෙමෙයි අපි කතා කරන්නේ 96,000.
The parliamentarian also expressed his views on the Board of Investment.
දැන් අපි දකිනවා නොයෙකුත්
We saw some media releases given by some chambers. We don't have any issues with their vehicles. Some people who were part of these chambers were the ones who looted public funds together with the Rajapaksas. Therefore, don't try to talk about those now. Today they are trying to advise us on how to run things. You better tell those to someone who actually listens to you. We are not here to protect one or two businessmen. The low-income earners will be the ones who are affected the most when we implement these reforms.
වැඩිපුරම පහර වදින්නේ උඩ යටිකුරු වෙන්න පහර වදින්නේ දුප්පත් මිනිස්සුන්ට.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna marked its 6th anniversary today. Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa, who participated in a media briefing at the party headquarters, said that no one can secure governance through violence.
As the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, we have always followed democratic means and have always considered the welfare of our people when making decisions as a party. As a result of this, we were able to win a majority of Pradeshiya Sabhas in the country. After making many sacrifices, we were able to elect a president with 6.9 million votes and were also able to garner a 2/3 majority in the parliament. Just like other political parties, we are also facing some challenges as we celebrate our 6th anniversary. We need to modernize our party. As a party that always follows democracy, we need to identify the issues faced by our people and then modernize our party accordingly. Right now, we are passing that phase as a party. We believe that we should only change governments through elections, which is the democratic way to do it. We don't believe that violence is a way to obtain power, and we expect to go on this journey with you as a party. We will go forward as a party together with our leadership, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and our founder Basil Rajapaksa, and most importantly our supporters who did not leave us during these arduous times.
අපේ අමාරු කාලේ සහ බලය තියෙනකොටට වඩා බලය නැතිකොට අපිත් දෙක්කින් අපේ පාක්ෂිකයෝ රැකගෙන අපි ඉදිරියට යන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කියන එකත් මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ.
අපේ රටේ ජනතාව විසින් ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් බිහි කරනු ලැබූ පක්ෂයක්.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is the only party in this country that was built by the people and for the people. No matter how many false allegations are sent our way, it cannot stop us from supporting future generations to realize their dreams.
ශක්තිමත් ගමනක් යනවා. ඒ ගමන කාටවත් වළක්වන්නත් බෑ.
Meanwhile, a Pirit chanting ceremony commenced earlier today at the party headquarters of the SLPP situated down Nelumawata in Batramulla in lieu of its 6th anniversary. A group of SLPP stalwarts, including the leader of the party, Mahinda Rajapaksa, was in attendance.
සබ්බ භය විනාශාය සබ්බ රෝග නිරෝධී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි කාමේසු මිච්ඡානාති පාතා වේරමණී සිකේන පාතුතං රතනති ජේතවනේ අනාථ පින්ඩිකාද කුම්භේත කත පුඤ්ඤතා ඊත භූවදස්සතා සත්තාලියේ තානි සංඝෝ ආහුනේ.
Former Sri Lankan Minister Rishad Badudin was released from a case filed under the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
Former Minister Rishad Badudin ordered by Fort Magistrate Tirnagamage to be released from a case filed under the Prevention of Terrorism Act allegedly assisting the suicide bombers who carried out the 2019 April 21st terror attacks. The magistrate made the order following the submissions made by the Attorney General, who had pointed out that there was insufficient evidence to file a case against the ex-minister under the PTA. Rishad Badudin was arrested on the 24th of April and detained for 111 days for investigations and was later released on bail by the Fort Magistrates Court. They fabricated the charges and ruined me and my community. They came to power accusing me and the entire Muslim community for the Easter attacks. They also won the elections with the Muslim community. They remanded me for 7 months unjustly under the PTA and thought they could win the next election as well. I repeatedly said in Parliament that these are false accusations and it was proven in court.
සතුටින් ඉන්නේ වයරින් කරලා වයරින් කිරුවේ එස්ලොන් පොලිකොන් යොදලා පොලිකොන් එන්නේ එස්ලොන් විමසින් හින්දා කිරිපුරාම විශ්වාසය සතුට පැතිරිලා.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking, electricity and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking. Suitable for white walls. Prevent spread of fire. Double lock technology. Ask for Eslon Polycon by name.
අපේ පුතක් ජීවත් කරන්න ආසයි. වෙන ළමයි දකින්නකොට මට දුක හිතෙනවා අපේ පුතත් ඒ විදිහට ලේ දෙන්න නැතුව හිටියනම් කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. මට එක වෙලාවකට හිතෙනවා මං කොච්චර පව් කළාද කියලා හිතෙනවා.
What you just witnessed was a plea of a mother who is desperately attempting to save her child's life.
Venul Vidumita Dihas is 2 years old. He lives in the Ambalavat village, falling under the purview of the Mahiyangane Divisional Secretariat. Doctors opine the only way to save young Venul's life is conducting bone marrow surgery. However, financing a surgical procedure costing in excess of 8 million rupees is all but a dream for Venul's parents, whose lifeblood is Chena cultivation. Venul's parents and his entire village only hope for one thing, and that is for Venul to recover and live happily. The sole income of Venul's family, which comes from cultivating one season annually, is insufficient to even feed their hunger. Venul is the youngest in his family.
එහෙම මාසෙම කටු ගහනවා. කටු ගහනකොට යාඬනවා. අම්මී වුවා කියන කටු 18ක් ගෙව්වා. මට ගොඩක් දුකයි මයි ළමයා ගැන. සල්ලි නෑ අපිට. බොහොම අමාරුවෙන් ඉස්පිරිතාලටත් ගෙනියන්නේ මහත්තයා කුලී වැඩ කරනවා. කුලී වැඩ නැති දාට ඉතින් මොනා කරන්න කාගෙන් හරි ඉල්ලගෙන හරි යනවා. අනිවාර්යෙන් මේක කරන්න ඕනි. ලේ ටික දුන්න නැත්තම් මේ පුතා නැති වෙනවා. කොහොමද මම බේරගන්නේ කියලා ඉතින් මට දුක හිතෙනවා. ඉස්පිරිතාලෙන් කොහොමද තමයි මෙයා මං ජීවත් කරගන්නේ? ඔයාලට පුළුවන් විදිහට උදව් කරන්න කියලා තමයි මං ඉල්ලන්නේ.
යම් කිසි කෙනෙකුට උදව්වක් උපකාරයක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක ගොඩක් පිං.
Little Venul's fragile life can be rescued if many empathetic hearts come together to support him. Our wish is for Venul to recover very soon and grow up to be a virtuous citizen.
A rural Sri Lankan school that is almost 100 years old finally received electricity today after a long wait.
The Upper Cranley Tamil Vidyalaya, located in the Nuwara district, will be celebrating its centenary in another 2 years. Quite incredibly, this school is yet to be given access to electricity. Newsfirst reported on this on the 17th of August 2022, and as a result, 2 people came forward to support this school. Prashant Siva from Canada and G. Stephen, a past pupil of the school, joined hands with Gammadda to provide electricity to the Upper Cranley Tamil Vidyalaya. Gammadda stepped in to solve this issue in a short period of time, though the issue had been in existence for almost a century.
The Super 12 stage of this year's T20 World Cup continued to intensify, with more cricketing action happening earlier today. Today's encounters saw Zimbabwe take on the Netherlands, while India went to head-to-head against Bangladesh.
Zimbabwe are all but out of the men's T20 World Cup after a 5-wicket defeat by the Netherlands in Adelaide. Zimbabwe, who have never reached the semi-finals of an ICC tournament, knew they had to win to realistically keep their last 4 hopes alive. But after winning the toss and choosing to bat under cloudy skies, they limped to 20 for 3 in the power play and never really recovered. All-rounder Sikandar Raza continued his fine tournament with a punchy counter-attack, hitting 40 with 3 fours and 3 sixes, while Sean Williams added 28 from 23 deliveries. Zimbabwe were bundled up for 117, setting a target of 118 17 for the Dutch. Max O'Dowd hit a composed 52 from 46 balls as the Dutch chased down their target of 118 with 12 balls to spare.
The second encounter of the day saw India move to the brink of her semi-final spot with a tense 5-run victory over Bangladesh in a rain-affected match in Adelaide.
Batting first, India set a formidable score of 184 for 6 with opener KL Rahul and talisman Virat Kohli leading the way. Rahul played some breathtaking shots to score 50 off 32 balls while Kohli was unbeaten on 64.
Stuck into that one, KL Rahul. Now he's knows it too.
India set a daunting target for Bangladesh, but Litton Das made it look like a cakewalk initially as he took the Indian new ball attack to the cleaners. The Tigers were 66 after 7 overs when rain interrupted the game. The target was then reduced to 151 from 16 overs via the Duckworth-Lewis method. Eventually, India prevailed and sealed a 5-run victory to go top of Group 2 with 6 points and a game in hand.
And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.